what up, my fans? It has been a bit since my last video, and where I do plan to finish out Dr. Stone. I've kind of gotten lazy. Ugh. I planned to cover this shit, but I got lazy. Damn it! Why? I keep saying I'll do it, but I end up never doing it again for a while. It frustrates me too. I had a problem with change, but my mind doesn't want to. Just so. So, I understand if you unsubscribe. It's very frustrating myself, and I do want to try and make a change, but my brain just doesn't want to. Anyway, I'm bringing you a different review for now. So for now, I'm going to be reviewing Kinnikuman. Yep, I decided to review the first arc of the Kinnikuman anime. Now, if you don't know what Kinnikuman is, Kinnikuman was a manga series written by Yuki Tamako, a duo of authors. It was published in Weekly Shonen Jump in 1979. So 9 plus 8. From 1979 to 1987. Until over 300 chapters. And 37 volumes. It was one of John's most popular manga. It was ended due to 3 different reasons. Chronic back pain to one of the authors. I don't know which one. I can't remember. I think it's Takashi Shimiya. I think I got that wrong. Pressure from the fans to keep it good. You'll keep it consistent quality and stuff. And jealousy. Yes, jealousy. You heard me right. As there was obviously jealousy about a new upcoming author at the time. As don't forget, in a year after Kinnikuman began serialization in 1979, a new series debuted in Jump in 1980. Maybe you haven't heard it. It's a little series known as Dr. Slump. Yep, Dr. Slump by Akira Toriyama was one of the most popular a brilliant manga. Why would Kinnikuman early on? Why would Kinnikuman pretty early on in the series? Because that run about for like for 27 chapters. It was just mostly a gag comedy manga. There was some action elements. But it was just a gag manga. It wasn't until chapter 28 that things started to change. We began in the 20th Children Olympics arc. Which I actually have covered. I read the first 3 arcs of the manga on my manga channel. Be sure to check those out if you're interested. Or maybe add the playlist on this channel so you'll be able to watch them. I have a lot of fun reading the manga. So I think we ended the review on the first part of Kinnikuman according to the English translation. Which in a way makes sense, as the 20th Children Olympics was a turning point for the series. Because the anime adaptation though, it took like 4 years for the manga to get an anime. Or Dr. Slump got an anime a few months after. Even after Dr. Slump ended in 1984, a few months later, we got the beginning of Dragon Ball, which became one of the most famous manga of the magazine. Like, one of the most famous manga back then was both Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. The 4 most popular manga of Shonen Jump. Not even the competitors like Weekly Shonen Champion, Weekly Shonen Magazine, or Weekly Shonen Sunday ever competed with that. Akira Shonen didn't even exist until a year after Shonen Jump. Yeah, Weekly Shonen Champion didn't begin until a year after Shonen Jump. Because 6 years started publishing content in that magazine. So it's quite funny, actually. So, can you go right? So anyway, after the manga ended, it got an anime around the time we were running. But after the manga ended, we see 2 continuations. In the late 90s, it got a continuation with Kinnikuman Nisei in Weekly Playboy. Yes, you heard that right. Weekly Playboy was a magazine on Shueisha, unrelated to the Playboy magazine of the West, but the same content in a way. Same demographic, more adult audience. Ugh. But I have a theory why. Since Nisei is a sequel, Maybe you want to target fans of the original manga. And that's gonna be one I will read. If you don't know, I don't really like that type of stuff. I don't mind potty humor, but nudity with the male anatomy, yeah, I don't like that. I'm sorry, but it's just me. I don't like that stuff. I don't know why. It's gross to me. Wanker! Wait, you lost! Anyway. So yeah, Nisei, as I said, was a continuation set years at the end of the original manga. I actually did watch a bit of it as a kid, I guess, on the UK TV channel Kicks, which is for action-packed cartoon, action-packed shows. It's like Power Rangers and stuff. It shows like Power Rangers. So I'm able to see a bit more seasons than I could at the time. I mean, I know I rarely watched some episodes. Because I remember my Pollock's voice as one of the characters. And I'll get into that a bit. And I do remember the theme song too. Now, only a few versions you can find of the English dub opening is on YouTube. Nisei does. As you can see, the Kicks logo on it. So, yeah. I want to be more familiar with the source material first. That's why I'm going for the original manga and anime first. I don't know how long the next arc's going to be, the American tour arc. Anyway, the first adaptation of the second continuation was the Perfect Origin arc, as a continuation of the original manga as a new story arc. Thinking like the 1,000-year Blood War arc of the anime, of the Bleach anime. How it took years, it was a continuation, even though the series sort of had a natural end. I think. So it's something like that, I guess. Or maybe it's like think of it like the Next Dimension arc of Saint Seiya. It's called that. It's a continuation of the end after the Hades arc. Alright, I watched the OVA versions a few years back. I don't know, about the truth about Seiya's sister's appearance. Kind of felt lackluster. Maybe. I don't know, it's been years. Anyway, so, yeah. Both continuations have anime adaptations. As I said, Nisei got anime adaptation in the 2000s, which became Ultimate Muscle in the West. There's actually a good video on it by Hao Katsi, I think. I can't remember his name, but you can look for it easily. First, I go over to Doug's production alongside the release of Alt Muscle, but a toy line from Japan that got released with the name Muscle, no anime dubs or anything of it. So it was really tough for me to find a way to watch the anime. Managed to find some episodes, but I don't know if it'll be the same source for a while. It's gonna be tough. Anyway, and well, the Perfect Origin arc as an adaptation. You watched 2 seasons of that on Netflix, with a 3rd season on the way. I think it's coming out sometime this year. I think. So I'm also going to wait for season 4 to watch season 4 when it comes out. So, yeah. Ugh. Well, I do want to be. I plan to continue reading the entire mangas and watch the entire animes throughout the remainder of 2026. At least until we get a solid release date of the anime. Of the season 4 of the Perfect Origin arc. Also, the Perfect Origin arc brought in new actors to portray the characters. Okay. Also, I want to make one note. I think this is my first review of an 80s anime on this channel. I think, I don't know, it's been a while, I can't remember. But I have gripes with animes from the 80s when watching it in Japanese audio. It's not really it's also due to audio quality being different at the time, and how it translated. It kind of aged poorly. Bit more effect on it. It kind of grates me a bit, but I still watch it because I want to enjoy the stories. But just so you know, it does grate me a bit. Anyway, the anime adaptation of Kinnikuman manga, the original, skips some content in the first arc and changes events around. So, yeah, in the manga, the first arc was 25 chapters. There was just 25 chapters of gags. I can try and name what chapters were adapted. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try to fit there's 2 episodes together. 0, 2, 4. 12, maybe 13. I don't know. I can only remember the 4 chapters. And it's weird. So, anyway, the anime is just 6 episodes of it. So, let's get into it. So, we open the series up. The anime opens up with chapter 3. I end up joking on that. So, normally, when you have an adaptation of manga, no matter if they change things around or not, they always start with chapter 1. That's the most common thing you see for adaptations. That's the most common thing you see for adaptations. They adapt the first chapter for the first episode. Of course, there are sections to that. Like I said, but it's normally the case. I actually thought it was copyright. I mentioned what inspiration behind Kinnikuman in my manga review, but basically the duo were influenced by Ultraman. And you can tell a lot of Ultraman references. Still, I thought it was copyright due to it's easy to get away with the manga in a way, because the medium. But when it comes to the anime, I thought it was due to copyright issue. It was that they decided not to. See, Super was one of Toei's biggest competitors in terms of tokusatsu shows, as well covering out Super Sentai were airing on TV at the time. Both were only over a decade older at that point, or nearly a decade. So, yeah, Super Sentai only returned to air just a few years prior, being ousted after 1977 for a whole year. Yeah. So anyway, I just still find a way to adapt chapter 3 for the first episode. And well, so let's maybe talk about that one. And you know what we think the second segment? Yes, they split these chapters into segments in episodes. Before and after icons, which a lot of modern anime do that as well, because it's episodic anime. It's not uncommon. They do extend some of the elements of the manga too, though. For that makes sense to have extend the episode a bit more. So, anyway, this is where we're introduced to our protagonist Suguru Kinniku, aka Kinnikuman. He doesn't know his name's Suguru, by the way. I don't know who raised him. It's never explained. So, and his favorite food is gyudon, a type of dish in Japan. He even has a song for it that was not in the manga. Which, yeah, it's a good song. It just about Kinnikuman is played by the same actor who's portrayed 2 other non-show living protagonists. Ryo Saiba in City Hunter. He appears as well for a lot of related versions, including Jump Force. And the original voice of Kenshiro in Fist of an All-Star. I say original voice. Over the years, Kenshiro's had different voice actors, including the upcoming remake, which releases on April 10th. So we're going to be covering it, as I already covered the first arc of the manga. So, Yeah. Also, weird change. In the manga, he was wearing underpants and socks. Somebody said the anime had to give him gear or give him wrestling gear. And it was a because of wrestling series after, but I just say it's a little weird decision. So, yeah, anyway, Kinnikuman is a moron. Of course he is. That's come from Shonen Jump protagonist. Also, the anime is based on the Yuji Tamago's original art style for the series. Before it changed. Not joking. If you go compare the characters in the earlier chapters compared to how they play later on, you can see a clear difference in the change in art. The less bouncy and goofy seem more serious, similar to how Toriyama changed his art style a bit, reflect more the action style. And you know, there's actually a remake of Chapter 7. Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. They filmed with some slight differences. It's so cool they actually did that. Remake the manga with modern art style. You know, with some changes and stuff. So it's not a copy. Be a fun little thing to do. That could be actually a good idea for an anniversary thing. Something like what Jump does with Jump Dragon Ball, as each artist draws a cover for a Dragon Ball manga. You know, volume cover. And it owns this art style. It's a really great thing. I love that idea. It makes sense because Dragon Ball's most popular manga. They've not done it for any other manga so far, far as I can tell, far as I know. But it's so cool as a current project. They actually can redo a chapter of the manga in their own style. You know, choose one random chapter from one arc, respectively, and redo it in their own art style. That is such a cool thing. That could be really unique. But hey, that's just my opinion. Alright, enjoy his guild. Anyway, Kinnikuman is joining his guild on until he meets a mysterious person, young boy they meet, Alexandra. Meet comes from the planet Kinniku, from the Kinniku galaxy. I'm sure they take Kinnikuman back with him, as you know, he's the prince of planet Kinniku. Immediately, they get the reason why not from in the anime. So basically, his parents mistaken him for a pig, because there was an actual pig there too, so he was thrown out by accident. So yeah. Kinnikuman refuses to go, says, isn't wrong. So basically gets a wrestling match. Yeah, there was a wrestling match in Chapter 3. We won't have another one until a bit later in the first arc, which was not adapted. In fact, the second segment of episode 6 is actually chapter 29. It is chapter 28. Beginning, I put a pin in that one for now. Anyway, Kinnikuman. So, out of sheer dumb luck, Kinnikuman wins. You expect the next segment to be in chapter 4. But no. Yeah, segment 2 of the episode, and that's chapter 7, introduces us to Terryman, an American Chojin. They're type of superheroes and stuff. It's a weird choice. Like, I don't understand why they did that chapter 4 in episode 2. In the second half of episode 2, actually. Why? I don't understand why. So consistency's sake, I'll talk about that part. I'll talk about what happens in episode 2 first. Before going to talk about Terryman's introduction. So yeah, Sigu is loyal to planet Kinniku with Gyudon. It's basically forced to fight the pig that took over the whole. It's the whole thing. The pig just took over the entire planet Kinniku as a dictator. Kinnikuman. Yeah, I'll steal so much. We meet sister. That's never explained in the anime, by the way. I think he did say it. Briefly though, it's not revealed to the end of the towards the end of the chapter, much a bit later in the chapter. that she's his sister. Well, so yeah. Anyway, Kinnikuman goes, but gets his ass kicked all the time. Typical gag manga stuff. The pig only loses because the chef that tried to kill him all those years ago was his revenge. Why now? It doesn't make any sense. Why now? Why not when he took over Planet Kinniku? Did it take him this long to figure out the pig as the pig that took over Planet Kinniku was the same pig that skated? Never mind. I do love the anime though. It's fun. I didn't know the name. I didn't know Beast Boy's actress who played him. She does sound familiar. So yeah, because of that, they end up basically said Kinnikuman went back to Earth as he's basically pathetic. Me's supposed to watch over him. So there's quite a few baseball references in this series. I have a weird bit in the manga. It's weird part of the manga, in my opinion. As the King Kinniku, or King Muscle, as Kinniku means muscle in Japanese. It's weird. What I find weird about it is that the kid named Mayumi Kinniku is kind of my favorite character in the first half of the Children's Olympics arc. Just returned in the manga. Just like that. Well, any mention of what happened in chapter 4. At least they do bring it up in episode 6. At least they bring it up, but still brushed aside. Not even a gag with Gyuro to check his mind. Little Bobbison. It's just weird. I just thought they just no longer kept just basically saying, but I don't watch it over anymore, I focus on the adopted son. They still focus on him? And the adopted son just never mentioned again. I'm not joking, he's never mentioned again after that chapter. Brief mentioned episode 6 of the anime, but again, as I know, never appeared again. So, open. So let's get to Taliban's introduction. So the whole Kaiju attacks, Kinnikuman is a superhero and stuff. That's when Taliban shows up in America. He may fight for money, pay for his services. Even when the boy asks for his help when his dad's attacked by Kaiju later, when he's not enough, he just kicks him away. Wouldn't even Kinnikuman to punch him. This is one of my favorite scenes because it shows that he may be a asshole sometimes. And a weirdo. He's got a good heart. As he was stated in chapter 1 of the manga, but he's inspired by Ultraman. That kind of gets thrown when everyone on Planet Kinniku looks like that. By the way, what he's on his head isn't really his look, in a way. That's a mask. Everyone, basically, even though there are multiple people on Planet Kinniku, I guess people tied to the Kinniku family, basically everyone ties to the Kinnikuman and his family, or wear a mask, for whatever reason, which I don't think I'm going to go explain, in my opinion. If there's an explanation, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, it was a really cool moment. As Kinnikuman helps the kid with that. Now the fight took with I like how the anime splash on the scene a bit more. Seeing it thereabouts, watch Kinnikuman fight. Even though he could be killed because he's no longer joined superhero, the whole thing that happened. That ends up better out, so he tries to join the fight, and that begins a friendship between the two. So there we get a few gag chapter episodes, to episode 6. So let's quickly go over them. So episode 2, part 1, adapted a completely unrelated chapter. Let's see. I kind of know. So, if spins that happens, so they do adapt chapter 1. Just not for the first episode, like I said. I don't get why. So basically, chapters 1 to 2 that were dated, that date says was introduced until chapter 3. Some now have him included in the story. Of course, in the episode dated from chapter 1, he doesn't get that much dialogue. He's just there in the background most of the time. He's a bit more ones in the chapter 2 episode, which is a concept thing. Yeah, I don't know. I talked about them in a way in my review of the manga. Kinnikuman has a part of Skeleton Man twice. And he's a kindergarten teacher who me has a crush on named Mari, who Kinnikuman falls for too. Now in the manga, why read on the for about the series is that she is more of a main love interest for the first 3 arcs. So up until the end of the Choji Olympics arc, but the anime expanded on the character more and more of a spot for the story. I can't wait to check out the American tour and see how different that will be. So yeah, it's a whole thing. Well, of course, there's a weird character named Nakano who changes different appearance every episode or every chapter as a hobby of his. He's also an announcer, mentions he's a wrestler announcer, hence why he appears in the Children's Olympics arc. Of course, in the manga, though, he doesn't really do much announcing. He's just an announcer in the anime. That's mostly explain why he's there. So, anyway, there's an episode where Kinnikuman is invited by fans, which is just as enemies in disguise. It's a whole competition. Fun episode, but the ending was changed. Kinnikuman no longer yells at the 3. Right. This episode will be a reporter for a weekly hero magazine called named Nosco, who likes Terry Man, obviously a crush on him. And even go on a date in a later episode. There's a lot of bizarre episodes. I do like this anime, so I didn't talk about much in detail. I did mention some of these chapters in a little detail in my review on the manga, so be sure to check that out. Well, let's talk about episode 6, part 2. That part of the episode actually adapts chapter 28 of the manga, beginning of the Children's Olympics arc. The Children's Olympics, I mean. So, Mayumi Kiniku, Kid Muscle. I'm just going to call him Kid Muscle most of the time. Because that's what it literally translates to. Kid Muscle. So Kid Muscle comes to Earth, making time an enlargement of the previous appearance. He had a second appearance in the manga prior to this. Is a whole thing where someone else is trying to be Kinnikuman along. It's a weird, funny one. Also, weird thing, me is wearing a random shirt with a panda on it that did not appear in the manga. At least in the first 2-3 arcs. I read them. Although no, the manga is pretty brutal, so they turned the anime toned down a bit. Still. So, anyway, Kinnikuman, sorry. Anyway, after that, he tells his son that he's going to be representing Japan in the 20th Children's Olympics. Because Kinnikuman does not want to. That's what Terry comes in for that Japan's not going to represent it, because Ultraman got his butt kicked in the last one. So it's probably well now who we go back. Way to say the hero. I guess Super Mario might have been a fan of Kinnikuman if they allowed as many references without any copyright. Like, no joke. Super Mario must have really been a fan of Kinnikuman. I don't really know, but they must have been. I'm just going to allow all these references in the anime adaptation. And I'm going to continue referencing too. They did need to get the permission to publish the one-shot Chapter 0. Yeah. They did need to get permission for that one. It's a weird one. Like you see, why did they get permission for that one? Basically, one of the Ultraman basically had an affair. That's not really good luck for the Ultraman. So, yeah, it's a weird one. So, Kinnikuman, well, hey, the last champion, the one who beat Ultraman, named Robin Mask, he is from England. He's very strong. I say in the manga, I love the character, Robin Mask. He's one of my favorite characters of the arc. It just makes me really love him's character. I can't wait to see how he's done in the anime, but you can tell he's probably going to put the more knightly appearance. So it's nice and more associated with England for some reason. I don't know why. There should have been knights in other countries in the past. Why is it associated only with England? I gotta look that up. But anyway, Skinner is still a coward. But Kim also begging the committee and community ways too to let Suguru compete. Like he can compete, but no. Robin Mask comes in with he should test Kinnikuman's strength, which he didn't even. That didn't happen in the manga, technically. And how it went after we were at the end kind of makes me disappointed because that was not in the manga. Unless it is, and I forgot. But yeah, Robin Mask didn't say he'll test Kinnikuman. He never said that in the manga. It's only revealed after the battle. Essentially, Robin Mask was going easy on him. That kind of makes it a little disappointing that they reveal that straight away. Instead of the episode reveal at the end. Oh well. He does mention Charles Kinnikuman, who was still hiding. Well, he can't gigantify. I thought it wasn't going to be established in the adaptation, but I guess it was. He does about eating garlic. They use animation for those scenes where it costs twice, keeping the budget low. So yeah, about Kinnikuman doesn't give up on that bite. Yeah, he managed to tie with Robin Mask. So basically, he's accepted to the Olympics. But turns out he has a construction in his back. Every mouth. So he kind of cheated. But she did not do in the manga. I mean, he failed quite a lot of fights, yet he won one fight in this anime. It's just weird choices. I don't really give my opinion on why I like and don't like about it. So I do love the anime now. So Kinnikuman has allowed to enter the Olympics, represent Japan. As the episode ends, we get a teaser preview for the next episode, which begins the 20th Choji Olympics arc, which introduces other characters important to the story. Because see how they handle a certain character's death. It's brutal, like one of the first brutal things that happened in the manga. So, thank you guys for watching. Oh, actually, before I go, I want to mention the opening and ending. Great, I like the opening. Kinnikuman. It's a good. I love it. It's kind of more getting in my head, listening to it more and more. So, yeah. Yeah, it is good too. So, anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please thumbs up button. If you want to see more Scratch Out and Luxury about the old musical future. I don't know what my next Kinnikuman anime review will be, but it's probably going to be doing the day because it's just pretty short, around 11 episodes for the next arc. But so we'll see what they cut and added. But anyway, thank you. I'll see you guys next time. Hope we do not start again soon. Kill Phoenix out.